Jolene Ferris reporting, and joining us now is Senate Minority Leader, at least for the time being, Senator Griffo. Joe Griffo, thank you for coming up. As we just heard from the governor this week on all of his proposals for the year ahead, the first 100 days, a lot of people saying, this is very progressive. A lot of question marks, the upstate versus downstate, Republicans versus Democrats. So I do want to start first with your new role as Senate Minority Leader, at least for the time being. And does that help upstate in any way, help our area in any way with Democratic control across the board?
Well, it's very difficult and challenging because you transition from a majority to a minority, and the system is very arcane, unfortunately, in Albany, and needs to be reformed significantly, and both parties bear culpability there. But yes, I can be a very important voice, and it's incumbent now because one-party control is challenging because it's one region domination too, and you need that parity between different regions of our state, upstate, downstate. So you lack geographic balance, you lack political balance, and you also don't have a lot of checks and balances, because before, if you want to question the executive role, you could do that through the hearing process. But now they're all of the same political persuasion, so they determine what they will do when they'll do it. That was evidenced by one of the governor's slide, where he basically boasted, "We are in total control."
Yeah.
And that, I think, is not in the best interest when we talk about things that we were able to accomplish in divided government by trying to arrive at consensus to deliver results.
Did you find when he was speaking that there was a big divide downstate?
Well, I think it was evident in the proposals. I mean, a lot of the speech centered on things that needed to be done downstate, and I recognize that and have no adverse opinion that we should look at what needs to be done where it has to be done, and downstate is important. The city has a lot of issues, the MTA. But we need to have parity. We need to also understand that there's infrastructure issues up here and unique challenges that exist in the upstate economy still. And it's not because of the weather. I know we're talking about a winter storm warning, but people are leaving New York, and the census confirms this. The outward migration continues because of the high taxes, the high energy costs, the regulations, the mandates. So we need to get a handle on that, and that's why we're talking about economic opportunity being equally an important focus, as well as social issues.
So taxes, mandates, but you mentioned infrastructure. Anything that you need to work with the Mohawk Valley 9 on to secure funding for infrastructure here more than ever?
Well, that's something that we created, I advocated for, and we'll continue that, and it's bipartisan, both houses. And we'll identify all of the critical needs we have here, from infrastructure to economic reinvestment and development. There are a lot of things that we still need to do and can do, and we'll try to work together and try to convince various agencies and the governor and hopefully the legislature too, because now, as I said, under the one-party control, we're an important voice, but we can't tell them what to do.
There were a lot of changes, of course, Democratic control, but there were a lot of changes. We saw Anthony Brindisi's seat change, Dave Valesky's seat change. Are you at all worried about who is filling those roles, or are you looking forward to working with? Do you think you can work with them?
Well, yes, I think we can and we must work together. I do believe, I know some, I don't know all, so we'll get to know each other. There is a learning curve as you start off, but I think if we continue to communicate and to collaborate, I think we can still ensure that we prioritize what's important to the people we all serve. When you get elected, Kristen, you're a member of the legislature. You run as a Republican or Democrat, but you hold the office, and that's why we have to be cognizant and sensitive to that we have a job to do. Even though we can disagree politically, philosophically, we still got to get things done.
Okay, we just saw Jolene's story on legalizing marijuana and all the different aspects that we've been covering over the last couple of months. Are you taking a stand on that? Do you have?
I'm keeping an open mind. I was wondering who was smoking what. In fact, the mayor of New York City mentioned that the other day as a result of how the speech went, because it was, the other thing that we're doing is moving so fast. The governor wants to do things in 100 days, and many of these decisions need to be vetted. You have a whole session, and we can do a lot of things, but let's do these things right. So on the marijuana, that's the key now. There are states that have done this. There are issues of concern from various communities and organizations. He's talking about a patchwork as opposed to a unified effort.
So do you see marijuana being legalized in 100 days?
I don't know how this will all evolve. He has put a lot in the budget, and I am concerned when you have a lot of policy in a fiscal document, but I understand because there's a fiscal component, even though I would question the forecast. We saw that in racing revenue and gaming revenue. They projected what they're not receiving, and as a result, you have casinos looking for bailouts now. So we have to avoid mistakes and do these things right. So the possibility exists, and I think it's the governor's plan to try to deal with this during the budget process.
And we'll continue to sit down with you and talk more about what's to come. And again, 100 days is not that long, so we'll have to see what proposals do come to fruition. Thank you so much for joining us. For now, Senate Minority Leader Joe Griffo, thank you so much. And want to take a look at what's happening on WKTV.